Hello, Teen 6. How are you? I hope you're all fine and you stay at home. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what you're supposed to do in class number 5. It's very important that you read the instructions carefully so that you are able to solve all the activities. So, at the very beginning, in activity number 1, you have a reading comprehension activity. At the beginning, I included some tips how to go about it, that it's very important that you read every section that you find there to answer the questions, okay? Remember that you have time, you have about 15 minutes to solve this kind of activity, okay? And then in activity number 2, you will find the grammar structure that we are going to learn today. The topic is habitual behavior. I'm interested in the past, okay? We know that for habits in the present, we use simple present. But what do we use in the past? So I'm going to write 2 sentences on my little board here so that we can analyze the structures. So I can say, to talk about a past habit, something like, I used to go to the park when I was a kid. Or I can say, I would go to the park when I was a kid. So, if you pay attention, I'm underlining the 2 structures that you can use to talk about past habits. We can use both of them, but there is a little difference between these 2 structures because we cannot use them with all kinds of verbs. In English, there are 2 kinds of verbs that you need to remember. There are stative verbs and dynamic verbs. Let's start with the dynamic verbs because those are the easiest ones and you may remember them. Dynamic verbs are those verbs that imply actions such as play, run, go, that you can do in a repeated way. Yes, and they can be used in all the forms, in the tenses that you know, in continuous form, in simple form, in perfective form. Whereas the stative verbs, as the name says, describe states, okay? They are related to mental processes, the senses, likes. For example, the verb love, okay? It cannot be used in the continuous form. You say, I love pizza, but you don't say, I am loving, okay? Another example can be the verb need. Although the action is happening at the moment, you say, I need some water. You don't say, I am needing. Yes? So, why am I explaining these 2 kinds of verbs? Because the reason why I'm explaining this is that used to can be followed by both kinds. That is to say, dynamic verbs and stative verbs. But would can only be used with dynamic. Let's analyze another example for you to know. Instead of using the action go, which is dynamic, we can use the verb leave. And here we can only use the verb leave with the structure I used to. Live in, General Pacheco when I was a kid. Okay, and can I use the verb have with would? No, because when it implies possession, I cannot say I would have a doll when I was a kid. I am going to use a dynamic verb with would. I would, play with my dolls. So, to sum up, what you need to remember is that used to and would are used to express past habits, okay? Are used to express past habits. But the difference between these two structures is that used to is followed by dynamic and stative verbs, that is to say, all kinds of verbs, whereas would is only used with dynamic verbs. The difference between dynamic and stative is that stative verbs cannot be used in the continuous form, and they imply mental processes, they are related to the senses, to the emotions, whereas dynamic verbs are actions, okay? Now,